Let me make a random guess. Since you clicked on this video, you are currently a Honkai Star Rail player or have tried Genshin Impact in the past, and I'm sure on some level you enjoy the gacha and RNG components of it. Well, what if I were to tell you that there is a character that is designed to be the living embodiment of RNG? A character that is designed with RNG built into her kit that whether they are good or not depends on how lucky you are. Sounds great, right? The big question is whether she's worth building, and in this video, let's talk about whether Qingque, the Mahjong throwing quantum girl, is worth you spending resources to build her. Before we get into that, if you want to see more Honkai Star Rail content, do consider subscribing to the channel. In order to understand Qingque, you first need to understand the rules of Mahjong, as she is so intrinsically bound to it that you won't understand anything I'll be saying without mastering Mahjong first. Mahjong is a game that involves 144 individual tiles and is played usually by placing tiles that... Alright, I'm just kidding, you don't need to know anything about Mahjong to figure out if Qingque is any good. You do need to understand her kit though, so let me start by explaining how this procrastinating office worker actually functions. It's easier to talk about her talents first as most of her kit functions around it, so that's where we'll start. Essentially, whenever your other characters start their turn, Qingque will pull one Mahjong tile randomly. If you think this woman was gonna stop playing Mahjong just because monsters have appeared, you are dead wrong. Anyways, she will randomly receive one tile out of 3 different suits each time one of her team members start their turn. At a maximum, Qingque can hold a total of 4 of these tiles. Now, if your tiles are all different suits, which is different symbols, then nothing happens. But in the event that you get 4 of a kind, that is 4 of the same tiles, then her basic attack is enhanced and she receives a buff to her attack. When unenhanced, all her basic attack does is make her toss one of these tiles to make room for her to pull another one, but if she triggers an enhanced attack, she can throw all the tiles at once. This results in an AoE attack with much higher damage, hitting one target and the adjacent targets around that main one. Next up is her skill. Each time she triggers her skill, she can draw 2 jade tiles at the cost of 1 skill point. You can continuously draw tiles as long as you don't reach 4 of a kind and you still have skill points, and each time you do, it gives you a buff that increases your damage, which stacks to a maximum of 4. So simply put, you keep drawing tiles until you get an enhanced attack, and the more you pull, the more buffed her attack gets. Because the suit or symbol that you pull is random, this is where the RNG comes in. You can't be sure whether you'd get that enhanced attack after spending 1 skill point or after 4, and sometimes you end up not getting anything at all. Under the right circumstances, your attack can end up being really buffed and hitting most enemies for really high damage, and if you're lucky, you might not even need to use any skill points at all. But if your RNG is bad, then you may just blow through your entire skill point storage to end up only throwing 1 tile at the enemy for very little damage. By this point, some of you are going, there's no way this is good as it's not really consistent and you can't plan around it, and you would be right. But some of you watching this will without a doubt be going, I bet I could beat those odds. And if you think like this, then you might actually end up enjoying Qingque. Before I forget though, let me just explain her ult really quick. All it does is it immediately inflicts damage to all enemies and gives you an enhanced attack after using it. Meaning that after you ult, if it's still your turn, you can do another instance of AoE damage. So back to the question of the video, is she worth your resources? To be perfectly frank, as a damage dealer, because of the randomness of her kit, her performance will fluctuate wildly. There will be moments where you get enhanced attack after enhanced attack, quickly destroying the enemy team, while on other occasions, she doesn't do damage at all because throwing a single tile to a monster 3 times her size obviously won't do anything. If you've seen some of those testing videos covered by the CN bros, you can see that Qingque does either really high damage or really low, and it's because of this RNG factor. If you ask me personally, I find her playstyle fun if nothing else, as the times you don't get those enhanced attacks will feel bad, but whenever you do, it's a thrill like no other. Even with her Eidolons, they mostly help in her regaining skill points and doing additional damage, but nothing that reduces the RNG of pulling for tiles. You do get to roll for tiles more often though, so I guess they improve the experience overall, but not too significantly. Because of this, I would say she's a bit too inconsistent to spend whatever limited resources you have, as you never know how she will perform moment to moment. Now, that being said, if you are looking for a fun character, I think she is one of the few that you would thoroughly enjoy, provided you like a bit of RNG. The randomness of the tiles makes it enjoyable each time you get lucky, and when you do so in quick succession, she can clear the table quite efficiently and it's very satisfying to watch. Her element is also something that's worth noting, as right now, the only other DPS quantum character is Scylla, who some of you may not have. Silver Wolf, who just recently released, can do disgusting amounts of damage with the right Eidolons, but at E0, she's mostly a debuffer. So if you're free to play and don't have Scylla but really need a quantum DPS for whatever reason, for now at least, this RNG-ridden Mahjong girl may be your only option. Long story short, if you're looking for a fun character and don't mind the fluctuations of her damage, or you have a bunch of extra materials sitting around, then yeah, Qingque is definitely worth building. If you're looking for a reliable DPS character, and especially if you have very limited resources, then I would suggest you build other characters first instead of Qingque, as she may not perform consistently enough for you to prioritize her over others. End of the day, if you like her for other reasons, don't let me convince you otherwise, and you should build whoever you find interesting. Personally, I'm a gacha addict and I have a problem, so Qingque feels like she's made right for me, but your experience with her may vary largely. One final thing to highlight is that this is mostly what I feel about the character when I play them, so there's no hard numbers here or tested values. Think of it like field crafting instead of theory crafting. End of the day, Qingque's charm is an acquired taste, and if you don't enjoy the RNG aspect, there are probably better characters for you to build. That does it for this video though. If you found this entertaining or helpful, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. As usual, have a nice day.